Welcome to Resisting Beta, the men's health podcast. And now, your host, Andrew Bontz. All right, men, welcome to another episode of the Resisting Beta podcast. I am your host, Andrew Bontz, and we have a unique episode because we have two amazing guests today. And I'm excited about this topic because it's something that you might be resistant to as a man. Or maybe your father was, and he shared that with you as you grew up. So here are some questions that I'm going to dive into today, or at least some topics that we'll talk about that I think you'll be interested in. So how do we have less stress, better sex, and more energy? I like all those. How can a man in his 30s, 40s, and 50s still be an athlete? Like be spry. I like that word, spry, and flexible. Because I think that we look back at our 20-year-old self and be like, oh, I was an athlete. But how can we like maintain that and have longevity there? And what are some physical symptoms men get from repressing emotions and trauma? And what the hell do we do with all this stuff? So I have two guests today. The first one is Leanne Kelly. And the second one is Kristy Klymciw. Together, they have 25 years experience in the holistic fitness and wellness world. And they're really committed to empowering and holding safe, high vibrational space for men to heal and manifest authentic love in their lives. That's awesome. Thank you, Leanne and Kristy, for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us, Andy. We're excited.
Yes.
So we discovered each other on Instagram, and you guys had an interesting concept and idea here. But before we get to that, if you can give me just a short version of what inspired your initiative to help men, and how do you typically go about doing that?
We both, like you said, we've been in the holistic wellness world for a long time. And our modalities, I'll let Kristy tell hers, but I do yoga and breath work, personal training. I'm a competitive bodybuilder. And I really felt this shift go from this aesthetic, can you train me to make my muscles look like this, to this spiritual wellness shift. It was just this kind of vibration that Kristy and I were feeling amongst ourselves, but also we were noticing it with clients. We were just noticing it with the men in our lives, the people in our lives. And we're like, we feel like there are so many programs that they want to help you lose that 10 pounds. They want to help you get bigger biceps. But in the process, keeping that 10 pounds off, keeping the getting yourself to the gym and prioritizing your health and wellness, there's a whole backstory to that. You have to be there has to be self-love there. There has to be some sense of having a bigger picture than looking great to get to the class reunion, or then having a certain aesthetic to go on a date and attract a mate. I mean, there has to be something deeper where you do it because you have a deep sense of self, a deep sense of self-worth and self-love. Because otherwise you're not going to keep the 10 pounds off. You're not going to want to go back to the gym, or you're doing it for all the wrong reasons. So in the process of us formulating this kind of program where we're using our modalities like breath work, and we're using yoga and Reiki and light codes and energy, I came to this conclusion that you see, this is the other thing that was driving me crazy, and Kristy will say this too. I've seen all these like TikTok things where it's the guys against the girls again, and women want this, and women are after this, and men only want that. It's like, whoa, those are stereotypes that are being perpetuated to have people look at this 30-second video and hit like, and really we're after the same thing. We want to be deeply seen and felt, and it's also this thing we're most afraid of.
I like that.
Deeply seen and felt. You have to be vulnerable. You have to be standing in your truth, telling your truth, and you have to be able to really be truthful with yourself in order to attract that authentic love that you mentioned, and in order to attract that abundance in your life, and in order to want to lose 10 pounds for the right reasons, for your health maybe. And in fact, that's just a byproduct of that self-love and that mental health, a lot of those muscle gains and things we do for our physicality. But really, again, we started seeing this shift towards spiritual wellness, and emotional wellness. And we had male clients wanting to talk more than they wanted to lift or whatever. And so we really thought, let's use our modalities to unblock that energy and help these men come home to themselves, their higher selves, their true selves, because you can't manifest a great relationship. We know this from doing our own inner work. You can't manifest a great relationship. You can't manifest your dream job. You can't, unless you feel good in your skin and unless you're really standing in your truth. And I'm going to let Kristy take it from there.
Yeah, I agree. And some things that I've been noticing, especially with the men around me, my male clients, is the stress that it's putting on their bodies and the health issues that are arising from holding all this trauma in and pleasing others and doing everything for others, being the providers, being the ones who are the CEOs, who are working really hard to take care of their family and just putting themselves on the back burner, and how this is manifesting in their health. I work with a lot of gut issues and anxiety and just all around feeling like, is there anything better than this? And yeah, I think it does really stem from not really understanding how to truly love and care for yourself and to bring that happiness into your life on your own, because we can't just have all these like this pain and these negative beliefs and thoughts and then get what we want. So we have to work through those limiting beliefs. We have to work through that pain and really transmute it to something where these other emotions come up, like compassion and gratitude and really caring for themselves, but in a different way, instead of that punishing, well, I gained weight, so I got to run to the gym, or I got to work out for 2 hours today, or I've got to go on a diet. It's more like, how can I really replenish my energy? How can I get to the gym and move my body according to my energy levels and honor where my body's at? I think that's really important, because if we have emotional stress and mental stress, our bodies are physically stressed. So like Leanne said, like it's hard to keep up the gym gains, the body gains, if there's these things that are stuck within the body. So that's where we come in.
The one topic that I think doesn't get talked enough about is the sexual health component of this. Because when I went through post-divorce, I ventured into the dating world. And prior to the divorce, I had no issues. Post-divorce, I couldn't get it up. I struggled, and it impacted my confidence. And the more I've told this story, and I've told it on previous episodes, the more men come to me and say, hey, man, I struggled with that too. And I still struggle with it and that kind of stuff. So I'd really like to dive a little bit deeper into that particular topic, because I think that for men, if you're struggling with that issue, that's a problem that you're motivated to solve. There are billions of dollars of men investing money into Cialis and Viagra and horny goat weed or whatever to solve this problem. And I know that it's a barometer of health, to where if you are not having a strong erection and your sexual health is suffering, there are other things happening in your body that, if not fixed or addressed, then you might have a health event, right? Or at least if you can start addressing it early, it can be important. So I really want to start there. So as you guys talk through this, and if I have that problem and I come to you, what discussion are we having?
Well, again, I think when we're talking about manifesting abundance and manifesting, we say authentic love, it does really go back to the body holds trauma on a cellular level. And Kristy and I have both been through divorce and through toxic type of relationships that you really do wear that on the body. And a lot of, let's be honest, with true sexual connection, there's trust involved. There is a certain level of attentiveness to your own body. What does your body need? What is your body telling you? And when you truly come together with someone at deeper level and exchange that energy, there is nothing more powerful than two people who are very connected, exchanging that level of energy. So it really comes back to unblocking your own energy. Your root chakra, even if you're not a yogi, your root chakra is in your pelvis. It's right where all your sexual organs are. Your last three chakras of your body are all tied up in where you hold trauma, sexual trauma, childhood trauma, relationship trauma. All of those things are greatly affected from those chakras. And when you are blocked there, you will not experience sexual freedom and sexual energy flowing very freely. So we really work through our modalities. And I know Kristy, I'll let her speak on this, but there's nutrition involved. There's breath work involved just to start to unlock those trapped feelings. After you go through a divorce, whether it could be really, it could have been maybe a friendly thing where you both parted ways, but let's be honest, a lot of times it is not. And there's a lot that goes with that. And you hold that on your body. This is someone who was your partner sexually in life, parenting partner, and a lot of your sexual life was wrapped up with this person. And when that relationship is not there anymore, and there could have been a lot of stress associated with that breakup, you really do hold that in your body. And particularly, again, that root chakra, those last three chakras. And so we're very big on breath to move the energy through the body and move those emotions through the body. And there are yoga poses that unlock that energy, that sacral energy, that sexual energy, that creative energy to get those juices flowing, literally and figuratively. So we really work to unlock hip opening postures. You'll find people that cry when they open their hips. Find people that laugh and they're so relieved when they open those areas. There are very real correlations. We are energetic beings to coming home to our bodies and getting healthy with ourselves and our own energy. And then once we do that, we manifest good relationships. We're not just at some speed dating joint or swiping. We want you to really connect and manifest this beautiful high sexual vibrational energy and this heart energy. So our objective isn't just we really want something deeper for you than to just get out there and go through the mechanics of it. The objective of sex, I think it's a stereotype to think men just want to get off. No, I think guys are looking for that deep connection and that really hot passion that comes from that deep connection. So we really start with bringing you home to your body and starting to move that breath and open those hips and work through that kind of leftover toxic energy that's on the body and trapped in the cells. I mean, let Kristy say, but go sister, go.
Yeah, I love that. And all true. And chakras, organs, our blood, our physical bodies, they're all connected and they're all very important. And I see a lot with, well, first of all, sexual intercourse it requires intimacy. And if you have these fears of being intimate, if you have fears of being seen, have fears of being heard, because maybe in your marriage you were not heard, or maybe you didn't have that passion, or maybe there wasn't a lot of sex going on or happening in the marriage, you might be afraid in your next relationship that you need to perform perfectly, or that you need to be acting in that performance, and really coming back to that authenticity and being yourself and being okay with intimacy, being okay with being seen, being okay with being felt and heard and connected with someone, making that connection with someone. Another thing is that I see a lot is gut health, the health of our gut, the health of our bodies, how we take care of our bodies, the foods that we eat. If we're eating foods that don't give us life, if we're eating foods that actually starve our bodies from real nourishment, from vitamins and minerals and enzymes and amino acids and omega-3s and all the things that we need, then our bodies aren't going to function like we want them to. So there spiritual aspects, there could be some fears, there could be some health issues that are holding us back, that are blocking us from being able to get an erection or even get sexed up. So I think there's a spiritual and emotional aspect that really goes into being able to be actively sexual and have your sexual organs work properly.
I think that I like the two components here because as you dive into this subject, we're so quick to just address the symptoms. So what I did is I first went to my doctor and then he gave me Viagra, right? And it worked, but all of a sudden I started taking it and it felt like my heart was going to burst out of my chest. And I was like, it's not good. I'm done with it. I got to find a different way. And it's interesting. I wanted to segment this to where it's like, okay, we have the internal inside your head and energy stuff. And then it's like what you put in your body. So I first want to talk about the trauma and the fears and that sort of thing. Because I think trauma is one of those words, at least from like the masculine, how we hear the word trauma, or how many men hear the word trauma is, and maybe both men and women hear it this way, if they haven't addressed it or talked about it a lot, is, it becomes a comparison, right? To where like, oh, my trauma, at least I wasn't, because you hear ridiculous traumas that people go through, like sexual abuse and all that stuff. And you're like, well, I wasn't abused. My childhood was okay. My parents disciplined me, but you start like downplaying your trauma a bit. And I just wanted to address that because I think that when we hear that word, some people might react that way, right? But I believe that everyone has trauma, and that's one of the benefits of therapy, of talking about this stuff and addressing it out. So I like to play the dumb man sometimes in these conversations. Like, how does yoga help me with trauma? It looks like you guys are just stretching on some yoga mats and tight clothes and breathing funny and humming. What's up with that?
Well, fair enough, because that's what some people think, or they see yoga as parlor tricks. Like on day one, you're going to be in headstand or like full scorpion.
Right.
No, that's a great question. That's true. And on the surface, that might be how it appears. I think the real goal in yoga, and I think a lot of people confuse it because it really isn't a fitness modality. What yoga really is 5,000 years ago when it was invented or discovered, however you want to look at it, it's a prescription for health. A lot of the movements in yoga are movements that are very intrinsic to the body. I mean, you literally see your dog when he wakes up, he'll do a down face dog, and then he just oppositely does an up face dog. It's like pose, counter pose, what feels right and intuitive to the body. So basically, the poses correlate to certain organs, to certain muscle groups, to certain energy centers in the body. So we're accessing these poses to get that energy free flowing. And also the objective in yoga is to just be able to move your body weight through space with ease and agility. So you go about your day and your life, you're reaching off the top shelf and you don't pull your back out doing something silly. So it's really to be at ease in your body and to move through your life with ease and agility and some measure of grace. So the reason that yoga is good for trauma is because it is unblocking those energy centers, but also we don't just remember trauma here. We recreate it on the body every time we think of it. It comes up for us in ways, and like you said, trauma is different for everyone. There's no comparison to my friend he's a soldier and he's seen some things that I'll never see, but I can't compare that to what I've seen and what's traumatic for me. It's not downgrading or upplaying either one. Whatever you are holding in your body and it is blocking you from your happiness, your truth, from moving through your life, it keeps coming up for you and you're getting re-triggered. That your trauma is potent. It matters. It's not comparable. But anyway, yoga will help you kind of release it on cellular level. So those postures that look like, they're stretches and they do feel good. Don't get me wrong. They are releasing a cellular level. Again, it's why sometimes you'll see people in a big chest opener. They remember things they didn't remember before. They'll laugh or cry or they'll need a second because yoga is able to get in and release certain emotions, feelings on a cellular level. And the breath, we hold our breath in terms of we're shallow tidal basin breathers, and we breathe with our chest and we call it a day. But in yoga, we're called upon to use the intercostals, the ribs, the abs. And when you start to take those full breaths and you move that oxygen to every little corner of your body, you really start to come clear. You start to get more creative. You start to remember things. And honestly, the breath holds so much power to heal trauma. It will bring out things, memories, and it will help you move them through the body. The modality of yoga is really to release that trapped energy. And it's why it is great sexually as well, because it releases any trauma related to sex, in terms of, it could be sexual abuse, but it could also just be, again, if you had a divorce and you're now feeling distrustful perhaps surrounding sex, or you feel like you can't even, we really want to encourage you to be able to trust your own body, trust yourself. And that's something that yoga really helps you do. It brings you home to yourself on a muscular level, a cellular level, emotional, and just a physical level even.
Yeah. And
Right.
also, yoga activates the organs, which helps with healing, which helps with like getting your organs, the ones that are maybe moving a little slow, like those positions, those poses, those are really there too, also to not only activate your organs and help you to detoxify. So
Exactly. I was going to say detoxify is
yeah,
the perfect word. Yes.
yoga is really is a really powerful tool. It's a great there to help you to build a better relationship with your body, help you to build strength, help you to build confidence. So yeah, I think it's a great modality for healing trauma for sure.
Yeah, I think it's, for me, I hear flow, right? Like it helps your energy flow better and your blood flow better. And if you're opening up the joints that are too tight, there are veins and all kinds of stuff going through these joints and over these joints and through these. I'm not great at anatomy, but I imagine as you open up these joints, if there's compression and restriction, it means that it's not flowing very well. And if your blood's not flowing very well, your organs aren't going to be working at their highest capacity, and your muscles too, right? To where if you're feeling stiff, if you're feeling like an old man, but you're 40 years old, and Tom Brady, he's 43 and he's still competing at the highest level. So, and I bet he does yoga. I bet he does.
I wouldn't be surprised. And you think about your spine, all of your nerves, your brain is attached to your spine, everything. If you can have that supple spine with those without compression and everything's open and supple, you're just going to move. You will just have less pain. First of all, less physical pain, but just to be able to move your energy through your body, but also just to have your brainstem, your whole nervous system regulated by really moving and breath. It's amazing. And it will take you through your entire life. It's not, the nice thing about yoga too, it's not a modality that when you're 98, you can't do. You can do it.
Right.
It's for forever.
So, Kristy, you talked about gut health, and that was one thing that when I struggled, when I had my issues, I really sought out information about it. And I found a book called The 4-Hour Body, and he talked about nutrition and body fat, to where if you're not putting the right things in your body, you're not setting yourself up for optimal blood flow, right? And then you have body fat, to where if you're carrying too much body fat, then I think you're carrying more estrogen than you should. And then as a man, if you're carrying too much estrogen, then it's going to impact your sexual performance too. So that's the kind of stuff that like they talk about in the book. But I'm kind of curious on your perspective and what advice you give men when it comes to what they're eating and how it contributes to their gut health and how it all fits together.
Right. Okay. So I feel, I mean, really, it does just it all comes down to cortisol, to your nervous system. What happens is, I'm just going to paint a picture, like you work full time, you got a family, you have things you got to do after work, throughout the weekend. You don't sleep well, you're not really sure what to eat, so you're just eating things, you're bloated, you're physically not feeling well, you're not sleeping well because maybe there's inflammation. What happens is, when the immune system is reacting to your environment or the things that you have to do, then cortisol has to step in to save your life, essentially. And when cortisol is being produced to save your life, what happens is the rest of your body slows down, which means your digestive system slows down, your detoxification pathways slow down, things get stuck, things get blocked, things get bloated, right? And so I think the important thing to I always start whenever I sign a client, the first thing that we do is we lower their cortisol levels, we regulate their nervous system, we get them into more of a calm, balanced state. Because we're not going to be able to heal our gut, we're not going to be able to lose weight, we're not going to be able to feel better until those things happen. So when it comes to hormone imbalance, the root of that is your stress. So it's important to balance your life out, to bring balance, to bring harmony, to bring more of a flow, and to really implement those self-care practices, whether it's I always say getting in the shower because for me, I'm like, okay, dude, like I need to get away from my kids for an hour. And I'm not kidding you. I will get in the shower and I will wait until there is literally no hot water. It's about 40 minutes. And then after that, I'll take a nice cold shower for 60 to 90 seconds, sometimes 2 minutes, just depends. But really taking that time for yourself to spend time nurturing yourself, to spend time lowering your cortisol, to spend time really relaxing your body. And that will help you to balance your hormones. When it comes to food, I always say that going back to Mother Nature to really replenish your energy stores, to connect you to your body, and to really rebuild and restore your body because stress, whether it's prolonged stress or it's been 3 days, can really deplete our nutrients in our body, our minerals in our body. Cortisol is responsible for that. Cortisol is a great hormone. It keeps you balanced, it puts you to sleep, it wakes you up, it helps your digestion, it lowers inflammation. But when cortisol is like off the charts, then you have a problem. You have more inflammation, you have sleep issues, you have energy issues throughout the day, your libido is low. So it really does come down to your stress levels. And like you had mentioned, the thoughts, our mental health, the thoughts that are flying through our head, what are we thinking that is causing stress on our bodies? Because our bodies and our minds, they work together. And so whatever we think is what we're going to feel. So we want to really work at changing that inner dialogue and creating more of a calm, balanced, regulated, peaceful state within our minds, our bodies. And when we have stored trauma, when we have things that are just compiled and stored and being compressed and shoved down, we're going to be thinking things and we're going to be like, why do I keep thinking these bad thoughts about myself? Or why do I keep thinking like, why do I wake up feeling heavy and exhausted or drained or my face is puffy? And it's like our livers are struggling because we're stressed out because we're thinking negative thoughts all day or because we don't take that time to actually sit and rest and relax and really decompress and let things go and work through things. So gut health, stress levels, nervous system, all intertwined, all important, and probably that's why Reiki and yoga are so important because they actually do help to lower stress levels, regulate your nervous system, and help to bring balance. And that's really what we're looking for is balance.
Guys, I think that most men, we don't have a proactive reset button. We're taught that if we're not out building and providing and sacrificing to fulfill our mission, then we're being fat and lazy and unproductive, right? Like I speak from like the entrepreneur mindset, right? Like the high performer towards we just need to keep going and going. And if I'm not going, I'm dying. But one of the things that I realized is that I didn't have a strategic reset button besides just going to sleep, which is good. Sleep's important. But taking it to the next step from like a waking, something you can do while you're awake if you're overwhelmed or anxious or just had a rough day, And that's where I started to discover cold therapy. I tried yoga, and I've done a fair amount of yoga. I'll be honest, I started to get into yoga because a woman at work had recommended it, and she's like, "You should see the women in this yoga class." I was like, "Okay, maybe I'll check this out," because I was single. I was like, "Okay, well, I'm a marketing nerd." So I did some marketing research, and Darren Hardy had recommended that to write out your ideal mate, like very specific. And yoga was one of the things that my ideal woman would be interested in or have tried. Right. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to find the woman that I want in a bar or maybe at the grocery store, but I'd much rather find her doing something that one would help me because I have some back issues and I'm tight hips and that kind of stuff. So I was like, I'll give it a shot. And it led me down this path of, oh, wow, this feels amazing. And then I started to explore some breathing exercises, and I found an app that was guided meditation with breath work in it. And it just gave me all of these tools to where when I started to spiral, when my mental narratives, when all of the things in my head or my kids are driving me nuts or all of these things were just spinning me like a top, where in the past, that's like I need a drink or I need to medicate somehow, medicate with porn, medicate with video games, medicate with TV, medicate with alcohol, medicate with weed, all these different, or medicate with working out, or I'm going to go back to work again, because whatever your medication is, you need a reset button. You need something that can focus you. And I like cold therapy because it forces you into breath work, but it's not necessarily everyone's cup of tea. But a cold shower is where I got started, is it forces you into it gives me the case of the woos. You start yelling like a Ric Flair from WCW, and my neighbors probably think I'm a nut because I'm yelling woo at the top of my lungs outside of my porch or in my cold shower. But yeah, so I think that's, to me, whether it's yoga, cold therapy, breath work, meditation apps, all these different things, they are strategic tools to give you a reset button. And yoga just so happens to include a lot of that. And if you're doing it I've heard of like hot yoga and that kind of stuff. I've never done that before, but maybe that adds an extra element because I've heard how amazing saunas are for you now. So I think it's super interesting, and how it all comes back to what is your methodology to when you are going to be met with stress and rough days and shitty moments and stuff's going to happen to you. Are you just going to let it spin you like a top? Or are you going to take control? Or are you going to numb it? And unfortunately, that's where most men go. They go to numb. Holy crap, I need a drink. And it's so acceptable. And I'm okay with that, but I'm okay with having a drink, but not as a numbing mechanism, right? Because you need to address it in a different way. So does that make sense? Is that kind of coming from my lens, and where does that send you?
It does. I think we're finding in society on the whole that there's so much affirming of that go. And I come from the bodybuilding world, and we're always like balls to the wall, balls to the wall. Guess what? We also know in bodybuilding that your muscles grow when you rest and recover. If you do not prioritize a recovery day, you will not grow. Okay. Mm-hmm. So that's a mindset that we've brought into these modalities that we're bringing together, is prioritizing rest and recovery. It's not a sign of weakness. It's not a sign of laziness. It is recharging your batteries to live abundantly. And that's the other kind of cornerstone of everything we're doing. This deprivation mindset, where there's some kind of badge of honor in going until you drop and in suppressing your emotions and, well, I'll take this quick thing so I forget. We are all about abundance mindset instead of this deprivation scarcity mindset. So prioritizing rest and recovery, we're both so big on. And those tools, like you said, breathing exercises, very quick affirmations that you can go to when you start to spin and spiral. Very quick little things like super easy yoga, literally legs up the wall. It will reset your nervous system almost immediately. It's not something fancy you need to know how to do. And even stopping for deep 3-part abdominal breaths. Having tools in your toolbox. I'm big on affirmations. I love my life. I am healthy, whole, and worthy of love. There are affirmations that you can go back to. I'm made for better things than this. There are affirmations you can go to that in those moments where you're going to reach for something to numb or you're going to spin out of control. We definitely have so many tools for that. But we're big on prioritizing rest and recovery, because it is part of your abundance game, because that's the mindset now, abundance and healing over deprivation and scarcity and that. Because honestly, people patch trauma by being so busy that they never have to have a quiet moment to think.
That's so true.
Yeah. And I also wanted to say, here's the thing, like, we can have a drink, we can smoke a little bit of weed. It's really the intention behind it. We don't want to smoke weed because we don't want to feel, but maybe you want to, like, I'm not promoting this. I'm just saying, if you want to smoke weed because you want to go to sleep, or if you want to smoke weed because you want to get creative, it's the intention behind it. If you're drinking because you want to suppress your feelings, you don't want to feel anymore, obviously that's not the way that we want to do it. If you want to have a drink because you're out with friends and you just want to have a good time, then that's fine. It really is like our intentions behind the actions. And yeah, Leanne said, finding small things that are effortless that we can just literally lay down and do, just to reset ourselves and to just bring that energy back, that flow, bring the blood flow back to the digestive system, calm down the nervous system for a minute. And then when you get your body into a nice calm state, you can go on about your day. But a lot of us have busy jobs. We wake up in the morning, we jump in the shower, we get ready, we leave, we're drinking coffee on the way to work. We still haven't eaten anything yet. We still haven't drank any water yet. And we're just going and going. So it really is taking the time to implement small things that takes 3 minutes to go get yourself a glass of water and pound it first thing in the morning. Get in the shower, do your cold therapy, maybe have a smoothie and not some coffee, something that's going to activate that adrenaline first thing in the morning. And that's something that a lot of people do, is they just wake up and they're tired because they are stressed about their jobs and they haven't had enough sleep. And so the first thing they do is go to that coffee, it just triggers those stress hormones. It makes it harder for us to get through the day. It causes energy drops throughout the day and then sleep issues. So we really want to be mindful of what we're consuming, how going about our day, what practices we have, what simple things can we do to really put our bodies into a more regulated, calm state.
So I love where we've gone with this. And what I know about most men is a topic like this, it can feel like a fire hose, right? It's like all of these things I'm not doing. It's overwhelming, right? And if it's as simple as yoga, we have egos. And if we go into a yoga class, is what we think about yoga, right? And there are a bunch of mostly pretty beautiful women there and beautiful people. And we don't want to look silly. But one of the things that I was super excited about when I was introduced to the two of you is you've found a way to create a safe space for men to really explore this and get comfortable with it, and something that is for men, right? So I'd love to learn a little bit about that and how that helps men maybe get over some of their reservations and maybe take a few steps into this world that we're talking about. Because I would guess there's 90% of the men listening to this where they're like, this is so far outside my comfort zone. I don't know what the first step is.
For us, first of all, we call it bro codes, and we don't mean to downplay it by saying bro. We mean to make it very friendly and accessible, and to let we're on this healing journey together. We really wanted it to feel like it's not that men versus women mentality, like I said, that we were seeing on social media. We're like, we're all brothers and sisters. We're in this together. So we call it bro codes, but with a lot of respect. And so basically, we really like to sit down with our clients and tell us about yourself. What are you feeling? What is your job like? What is your life like? What are the commonalities, the stressors you're feeling? And as far as the modalities we use, Yoga is something, they're accessible things. Like I was saying, legs up the wall. We don't start, there's no, oh, this is level 1 and this is level 10. No, we just use certain poses as tools to open up your hips so you have better sex, to get all those energy centers to open up. So yoga is just a tool that we use, and it's very much crafted to the individual. What does the individual need to help them on their journey? Everything we do, unblocking your energy with Reiki and with affirmations, and just retraining our minds to be like, when our eyes peep open in the morning, we don't say, oh, fuck. We say, hell yeah, I have another opportunity. My eyes just opened. And so just to change that mindset. So yeah, our modalities, breathing and yoga and Reiki, but those are things you don't have to have any knowledge of to work with us. Those are things that we're going to tailor to you so they're accessible. We're going to make them work for you because we know they can work. And so nothing is intimidating or outside of the realm of, oh, that sounds too woo-woo for me, or that sounds too advanced. This isn't preconceived notions one may have about it. That's not, Kristy and I don't do boring. We don't do, let's just put something hard in here for the sake of, oh, you want to see a hard yoga pose? No. Everything is made to be really accessible. It's something, they're just tools we use because we just want that abundant, full life. And we want a person, men, women, everybody, but we want men calling in authentic love, testing their dream job, and just releasing that stress and starting to come home to their bodies, their true selves, not these hats that they're wearing and what they think is expected of them, but coming home to their true selves. And those are just modalities to get there. So if they sound intimidating or too far afield, that's not how we approach them at all.
Right.
Go ahead, Kristy.
Well, I was going to say, for someone whose nervous system is dysregulated, who has a lot of stress, going into a healing program like this can maybe look scary or seem scary, because maybe we're thinking, oh, we're going to have to make all these changes. We're going to have to stop doing this and stop doing that. And that can seem scary when we've had these like means of maintaining coping, I guess, letting go of our coping mechanisms. But the way that Leanne and I work is like, I'm just going to tell a little bit of our secret. So Leanne will take them through a nice, very specific yoga flow. And then I take over, and all they need to do is lay there, and I'm doing Reiki on them. And the whole session is to activate their parasympathetic nervous system, to relax their bodies, and for them to actually feel what it feels like to be at ease, to be relaxed, because a lot of us don't know that. So we're bringing them back to that calm, relaxed place and showing them, look, this is what we want you to feel like. And I think that's motivating. And then, yes, making changes is a little scary, but we have these energetic tools, especially with Reiki. Reiki is effortless. Reiki works with our bodies. I could just hold my hands up and send it to your body, and the energy will go wherever it needs to. So I can work on specific areas, or I can just send it to your body, and your body will take it where it needs it. And then effortlessly is helping you to relax your body. And it doesn't just work in that half hour or that hour. It's working. It's consistently working, continuously working. So I think regular sessions with us and just understanding your body and understanding it, really becoming aware of the things that you're doing, the routines that you're doing that are you're unconscious about, that are causing more stress for you, bringing you back to that higher level of consciousness. So you're like, oh, wow, that coffee is actually making me really bloated in the morning and stressed out. And then I'm starved all day. Like, why am I not eating all day? Why would I do that to myself? Like, just really bringing awareness to the things that you may be doing that you thought were okay, but are actually hurting you. Those are the first steps, is bringing awareness, bringing a higher level of consciousness, and really helping you to feel that sense of calm in your body.
And empowering you to know that you have control over that. So I think that's part of the reason we don't want to look at those deeper feelings, is because we feel so out of control with it. And we're really giving you the tools to Have control over that stress, have control over your body. And mixed in with those modalities are things that you might expect, us helping you set boundaries, us helping you learn to protect your energy, prioritize your energy, your light, and realize that's your currency. It's not this, and it's not how hot you look or whatever. Those are all byproducts of you manifesting abundance. You look hot and you make this, I guess, whatever, but we want your energy is your currency. It's your calling card. And so mixed in with all of that is mindset work and setting boundaries and prioritizing your goals and taking steps to take control of your life and your happiness and your body and your emotional health, your spiritual health, more than just your physical being.
I love both your passion. This is awesome. And unfortunately, we're coming to the last couple of minutes of this episode. So I'd like to jump into a few of the questions that I have for each of the guests. And the first one is one of my favorite questions. And I'm really curious because most of the guests that we have on here are men, actually. So the question but I'll still ask you the question, get your perspective on what do you believe it means to be a man? And
I think it's the same that it is to be a human. I really do. I think it's standing in your truth, manifesting your best life, manifesting your most authentic love, bringing your authentic, high vibrational energy to the world. It's what we need. Being able to show up and be seen fully as yourself without fear or trepidation and calling in the energy that you deserve because you're standing so firmly in your light. To be fully seen, fully heard, fully understood, and safe to stand in your truth.
how about you, Kristy?
Yeah. And that authenticity is so important because we're mirrors and we're going to attract partners with the same things, things that we need to heal, things that are going to be mirrored back to us so we can heal those things. And we really just want to be fully authentically ourselves because it's where we feel most safe. It's where we feel most comfortable. And it's important for us to be fully ourselves and then attract someone else who is fully themselves. And that is being in alignment. So I think it's really powerful.
Yeah, I think that this whole topic of leading yourself first and leaning into your authentic self and showing that to the world. And I think that's been a thread that we've pulled on throughout this whole episode. So I love that. So the second question I ask every single guest is this more of asking you to help the men create some momentum. And I think that what most people miss is the little baby steps, something that they can do over the next 7 days, or they can get some quick wins. So what would be their homework that you would give to the men over the next 7 days, something bite-sized that they can get some quick wins in their life and move towards the transformation we've talked about today?
I have something that I tell clients to do, and it's called a red flags journal. They can also be green flags, but we really encourage people to come home to their body and connect to their intuitive knowledge, connect to their intuition. So I would say some very easy things are to just stop and take some deep breaths. Even if you do some 3 per hour, I want you to breathe deep all day, but if you just stop and take some mindful deep breaths and then start to become aware when your intuition is speaking to you. It can be tiny little hits, little pings, little blips, and then start to journal and keep track of it. Because when you go back to look at that journal, you're going to find out what's not for you. And you're going to find out what is for you and what's in alignment for you. So start to journal those little hits of your intuition. And then once you keep that journal, maybe start to write down how you feel about certain things or what's when you're being triggered or when we're getting some kind of feeling on your body. And just start to journal and keep track of that stuff and start to honor it as true. It's not good or bad, it's true. And start to really come home to what your body, your intuition is telling you. But a really simple, take those deep breaths, start to come back into your body. Don't leave when it gets tough or don't stay so busy that you're disembodied. Breathe, come home to yourself and journal those things. Take some time to see what it is your body's telling you.
How about you, Kristy? What's the one simple thing that they can do over the next 7 days that you feel like you can get them some quick wins?
Well, I think It's really powerful. It's really impactful. And if you really focus on what you're consuming, whether it's food or just other people's energy, like really be mindful of how you're feeling around people, but also be mindful of what you're eating and how it's making your body feel, because the food that we feel or eat can make us feel worse, right? So if we're eating well, if we're eating, I'm just gonna lay it out for you. The more fruits that you eat, the more root vegetables that you eat, the more salads that you eat, the more whole plant-based foods that you eat. And I'm not saying you have to go plant-based, but the more plant foods that you eat, the more healing you're going to receive. The easier it is for your body to get through the day, the more energy you're going to have, the more you're going to sleep. So, yes, we can have stressful lives, but we can take the initiative to actually think and be mindful of what we're putting in our bodies. Because if we're eating foods that are, you know, I personally, for example, don't eat like cauliflower or broccoli, not because I think it's bad for me, just because it bloats me and it doesn't make me feel good, right? So I have my own set of vegetables, set of fruits that make me feel good that I stick to. It helps me get through the day, helps me to keep my stress levels low. And they hold nutrients, they hold value that helps to regulate our bodies. And we really want to be mindful of what we're putting in, what we're consuming, how food is making us feel. I would say cutting out processed food and sticking to whole foods. Just even for the next 7 days, you might notice like inflammation is down, water weight is down, you're feeling lighter, you're sleeping better, and it's easier for you to flow through those stressful times.
That's awesome. So, men, if you want to get in touch with Leanne and Kristy and literally learn a little bit more about the program they've created just for you, follow them on Instagram. And I'll add their Instagram into the show notes. Leanne, they do have a website that you can learn a little bit more about them. But I found more information about the specific program on Instagram. So is that the best place where men can go to learn more about this and connect with the two of you?
Yeah, that's perfect. Instagram is great. And there's quite a few times where we've come on lives and talked about all these subjects. So if they want to go on and look in our reels and take a peek. But yeah, we would love to work with men and just walk alongside you on your journey, and hold safe space for you, high vibrational safe space. This is just for you. We create these programs one-on-one for you in particular. So there's no, like you said, if any of it seems daunting or overwhelming, it is not. We'll take it step by step, and it's all for you.
All right, man. Well, there's two things you can do here. There's one, you could take this information and do nothing with it and keep experiencing the symptoms and the lackluster life that you might have in some areas of your life, or you can get outside your comfort zone and try something new, try something unique, maybe explore something that you never thought of, or that you thought that's a chick thing. That's not a guy thing. And you'd be wrong, but that's okay. Keep that open mind, and maybe just date it for 30 days. Be like, you know what? I might not like it, but I've never tried it, so I don't know. Right. So I really appreciate you being here, Leanne. I really appreciate you being here, Kristy. I feel honored for the information that you shared. I'm so appreciative for the passion that you brought to this conversation, and just be willing to have the hard conversations and create something that's for men, helping them to lead themselves better, to become a more authentic version of themselves, and to release some of that pressure and tension, and maybe take some of that weight off of our shoulders that we feel like is self-burdened, and giving us tools and resources to work through what can feel like it's too much or a lot. And that's why I think a lot of men decide to tap out too early in life, or they numb out, where they're alive physically, but they're not here presently mentally as well as they could have been. So I appreciate the two of you being here.
And thank you, Andy, for the work that you do. It's so important. Thank you for saying that, because we want people to live abundantly and know that They have everything inside that they need to thrive.
Cool.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Andy. Appreciate you.
All right. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Resisting Beta podcast. Here's where I need your help. I'd love for you to give us a review on your favorite podcast player. Also, follow us on TikTok and Instagram and share this message out to a man that needs to hear it, because that's how we impact this world. Thank you very much. Make it a great day, men.